best chance for severe weather is always on the east side of the track. And so I mentioned this last night that I was very concerned about a lot of tornadoes, little spin-ups on the Delmarva, in addition to their gusty winds, because they could see hurricane force winds briefly on the Delmarva. So flash flood watch continues, covers the metro. In terms of warnings, yes, there is a flash flood warning for much of Prince George's County and also down into southern Maryland. I mean, it covers a good chunk of our viewers down to the south. Also covers a little bit of Anne Arundel County as well. And this is an aerial flood warning for parts of the district and also Fairfax County. And that goes until, I think, 1 o'clock this afternoon. Flash flood, this in blue, this comes up quickly and goes down quickly. Aerial flood warnings take a little longer to clear out. So we're thinking, you know, again, rainfall, you know, 2 to 4 inches west of I-95. But 3 to 6 inches east of 95. That's with the storm itself. That does not include the rain that Howard was talking about last night, which has given some folks totals in excess of 7 inches of rain. So we'll just sort of focus on the severe again. So again, we're looking at the warnings. The tornado warnings are across the bay. Tornado watch continues till noon for our eastern viewers. No doubt about that. Rainfall amounts. They've kind of come into line. This is going to be really in the next few hours, not the next 2 days. So now they're down to about 3.5 for the RPM and down to 1.5 for the European. That's because we're essentially almost half over with the event. I mean, we've got another 3.5 hours, I think, before things really begin to settle down. Radar, we will show you where the storm is. It's about to move through the northern neck and into parts of the lower bay. So there's the band of heavy rain that's just hammering the metro right now. And it's going to move across 95 and hammer our friends up into Montgomery County and farther west, Fairfax and Loudoun County, even as far west as Bluemont. So this is where the storm is right about now. I'd put it right about there, and it's going to go into the southern bay and then go well west of Ocean City, west of Atlantic City, probably just east or over Philadelphia. As we go through the next 4 to 5 hours. It's hauling. It's moving like 28 miles an hour. So it's not going to hang around long, which is good. That will cut down on the flooding. So here's our radar over the past couple of hours. And this is sort of interesting. Not so sure where this band came from, but look at this heavy band west of I-81. Didn't think we'd see anything that crazy heavy west of I-81. Certainly the heaviest rain right now, Montgomery County, and also into Prince George's County and down into St. Mary's County and Calvert County. So again, the good news, there's not any tornado warnings. Bad news is flooding is going to be a bigger problem. And in fact, here are the flood warnings. We had a flash flood warning until 11:30 this morning. Anne Arundel County, Calvert County, Charles County, and Prince George's County. So bad news, we got some flood warnings. Good news, Annie, there are no tornado warnings on our side of the bay. And if we can just get through the next 3 hours, things are going to improve dramatically.
Sounds good. Topper Shutt, thanks so much for that update. Let's check in with Alfred Jeffrey, who's joining us on the phone right now. He's the Deputy Director of Public Safety at Calvert County Emergency Management. Mr. Jeffrey, can you hear us?
Y'all this morning.
Good. Thank you so much for joining us. I know you're super busy. Thank you for taking some time out. Give us a sense of what you're dealing with in Calvert County right now.
Well, we're dealing with a lot of calls right now, water-related, wind-related. We have a lot of trees down, blocking some roadways. We have a few trees down that have impacted residences and houses that our fire and rescue are responding to now to handle. Fortunately, right now, there's no reported injuries with any of those incidents. We are quite busy. I think all of our departments are out on the road responding to incidents now. And we're expecting like Topper said, we're expecting the heavier rains to show up very soon, along with some higher winds, which will just increase our call volume at this time.
Sure. And so did you have to call in extra people to make up for all of the calls coming in? Give us a sense of the average time for residents when it comes to wait times.
So there is no wait time for emergency calls right now. Our volunteer fire departments are handling all the calls as they come in on emergency calls. They upstaffed all of their last night they upstaffed all of their departments with the expectation of having a large call volume today during this time. So they're all prepared and they're handling everything as they always do in the county. We upstaffed our Department of Public Works with our tree cut teams and our Department of Water and Sewer for flooded roads and all of our transportation issues. We work closely down here with the state transportation department to coordinate all our efforts to ensure our transportation infrastructure remains as open as possible and cleared as fast as possible. So there's very minimal impact when we have road closures.
And you can imagine there are people at home right now really concerned, worried, unsure about what could happen to their homes, their property and that type of thing, their safety. What's the message to residents there in Calvert County?
Great question. Stay home. Monitor the news. They're your forward observer. They're the best forward observers we have. I depend on the news. Channel 9 and Topper gives great news updates, and we appreciate all he does for us, giving us the information we need to make decisions on. But stay home, follow the news, listen to the alert warnings that we're sending out over our mass notification system, and protect yourselves. You don't need to leave your house. If you don't need to leave your house, don't leave your house.
Great advice. Alfred Jeffrey, Deputy Director of Public Safety at Calvert County Emergency Management. Thank you so much, sir, for spending a few minutes with us. Stay safe.
All right. Thank you for getting the message out for us.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, Howard, you heard him. He's getting a lot of emergency calls out right now, water rescues going on, that type of thing. So flooding is definitely a major concern.
Yeah, they've had a lot of heavy rain. The good news is that I don't think it's going to rain for too much longer, maybe another hour or two. There is a flash flood warning till 11:30 for Calvert, for St. Mary's, also for a good chunk of Prince George's and southern Anne Arundel. This is the latest on Isaias. Moving off to the north. Looks like the center is getting close to Reedville right now. We saw Megan a few minutes ago. She was down in St. Mary's where the heaviest band is up here in Delaware. There's more rain coming through. There's also going to be some windy conditions as we get close to the center here. It's a gradient tightens up, the pressure gradient. That's what drives the wind. So as the low pressure, if we're in the general low, it's not bad, but boom, once it starts to pull away, we're going to get some bigger winds with that. And even toward the coast, we've had some gusts of 40 on the bay, 45, even 50, 55, 60 on the Atlantic. And I do want to show you, I think, do we have the video from CG19 by any chance? This is Maryland 231 at the Patuxent River. Goes between Calvert and I think toward Hughesville, Benedict. It is coming down. You see the camera shaking due to the wind, and that's the waves on the Patuxent. So you get an idea of some of the rain that's going on there. Let's go back to the radar, and I'll show you that from Leonardtown north, we've got some heavy rain, and I'm working on video. Mark Flaherty with over 7.5 inches of rain just gave me some video on Facebook. We're working to get that on the air for you. But there's a lot of water. It is not easy to get around right now across a good chunk of St. Mary's County. There are road closures. There are trees down. I'm sure there's some power outages as well as the storm continues to move to the west. We've had some rains as far west, you see, as areas in the West Virginia Panhandle, but it's been much less of a problem west of the Blue Ridge because the winds have been lighter, the rain has been lighter. Really, D.C. south and east have been seeing the brunt of this storm easily, and those are all the flood warnings. We do have an area flood warning for Fairfax, for Arlington, Alexandria. That goes till 1 o'clock. Tornado warnings are east of us. Kent and Queen Anne's there, well east of us, and we're talking, and that's a new one up there, but the flash flood warnings in many areas right now. So high water is going to be a big problem through the rest of the morning into parts of the afternoon. Please avoid high water like your life depends on it. Annie.
All right, good advice, Howard. Let's check in with Ed McDonough this morning. He is with the Maryland Emergency Management Agency. Ed, thanks so much for joining us. I understand there are reports of damage in southern Maryland. Can you fill us in and tell us exactly where and what you're dealing with?
Well, the most reports of damage we have right now are on the lower eastern shore. We do know that a few buildings have been damaged or destroyed. Not huge numbers, but certainly devastating for the people involved. We do have possible reports of two very minor injuries, cuts and bruises, nothing that appears to be very serious or life-threatening. We do have reports of possible tornadoes touchdown in southern Maryland, but at this point, I was just on a call with the Southern Maryland emergency managers. We have not heard of any damages yet, although it is possible. But they do know there have been some touchdowns both in Calvert and St. Mary's counties. But again, at this point, we've not heard of any damages from them, but they are still out in the field looking where the tornadoes touched down to see if they could find any.
And all morning long, we've been encouraging people not to go outside, to stay inside if you don't have to leave your home. But for those that absolutely need to go, are there any hot spots or any places in Maryland that they should be aware of to avoid?
Well, two things. First of all, it's funny you mentioned that because our partners from Maryland State Police were just talking on the call that I'm on about the problems of people out traveling. They've had a good bit of accidents since around 3 this morning, I'm told. And then, of course, you know, you've got the power crews and the debris removal folks out there. So absolutely, if you do not have to go out, if it's not an essential trip, please stay home. I mean, we've been telling people that for months because of COVID, and we need to reiterate that now. You really need to stay home today unless you are absolutely an essential employee. It really is tough to be out there. If you must go out, if you see standing water on the roads, don't drive through it. And most people should know the normal locations where there is flooding. What we're hearing from primarily the lower shore in southern Maryland right now is that places that usually see floodwaters are seeing them now. So you should, you know, if you drive these roads normally, you should know where those are at. Do not try to drive through standing water because you don't know how deep it is. You don't know whether there might be a bridge out or water coming over a bridge. So just don't take that risk because then emergency crews will have to come out and fish you out of that water, and that is just not something that they need to be doing right now.
Right. And I want you to talk a little more about that, to never drive through flooded roads, because as you know, it doesn't take much to cause severe damage to your car, to your livelihood, to your safety. So in general, it's just not a good idea to drive through it. But it only takes, what, 6 inches of water?
Yeah, depending on how quickly it's moving and how high, you know, your car is off the ground, 12 inches of water could start pushing you off the road, particularly if it's moving swiftly. And again, you just can't take a chance because you don't know what's under that puddle that you're driving through. It may be just a puddle, but it could be a bridge out or road deterioration or water coming over a bridge, which could push you downstream. And that's what we never want to have happen. And of course, if your car, if the water comes up over your battery or into your engine, then your car dies in the middle of the water, and then they have to come and fish you out, you know, regardless.
Right. And of course, Topper and Howard is talking about this timeline. We're hoping that this wraps up before 1 o'clock this afternoon. But then, of course, we've got the cleanup, and that's going to be a monumental task. Talk us and walk us through that process and what that might look like.
So, again, based on the damages we've seen now, it's not going to be a huge cleanup. But obviously, you know, we still have, you know, tornado watches and warnings throughout most of central and eastern Maryland. So, you know, there could be more damage later on. Another thing we need to think about, though, that the Weather Service has warned us about is that even after the storm moves out, there could be some tidal issues tonight for people who live along either side of the bay and the tributaries, more likely on the eastern shore in Somerset and Dorchester, but also potentially on the western shore of the bay, that the high tide tonight could be higher than usual because of the storm pushing water up the bay. And these are things we've seen over the years with Isabel and Sandy and other storms. So, again, people who live in those areas probably have experienced it before if they've lived there for a while. But if you live anywhere near the bay or one of its tidal rivers, the Potomac, obviously, for much of your viewing area, you need to be aware of potential high tides again later tonight, even if the storm has moved up the coast.
Great advice, great insight. Ed McDonough with the Maryland Emergency Management Agency. Thanks so much and stay safe up there.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Sure thing. All right, let's check in with Marcella Robertson, who has been live in our Weather Explorer all morning long. Marcella, I can hear the raindrops pitter patter on your windshield. Where are you exactly?
Yeah, good morning, Annie. It is really coming down. So we are making our way back. We're still on Route 5 northbound. We're just, I would say, about 10, 15 miles or so outside of Waldorf, making our way back into the D.C. area. So in Charles County now, we were in St. Mary's for much of the morning. I want to give you an idea what it looks like from our point of view right now. Again, you can see actually a good amount of cars on the road. A lot of them have their flashers on just because the rain is coming down in sheets. And of course, we have seen this kind of in waves throughout the morning. We, had sheets of rain coming down. Then we thought we were in the clear for a couple of minutes, and then it came down even harder. Wind was blowing. You could really just see the rain and the standing water on the street, how hard that wind was blowing. And so we also saw a lot of trees that were down. We saw at least 2 that were down, and Howard and Topper were talking about this. When you have such a significant amount of rain, makes the ground really soggy. A lot of these trees just can't take that, so a lot of them toppled over into the roadway. Several of them actually on Route 5. They have, for the most part, been cleared now. We also came across a lot of standing water, and we're still seeing that as we're making our way into Charles County now. So just trying to take things slow out here. But of course, we have made it through all of those tornado warnings throughout the morning, 3 or 4 of them in St. Mary's County. And now we're heading back into Charles County, where even though we are in the clear from those tornado warnings, still a lot of flash flooding. We actually just got, as we are continuing to drive and make our way back through every area that we're going through, we're getting these notifications of flash flooding to our phones and warnings of flash flooding. So that's certainly something that we're continuing to keep an eye out for. And we're not talking about just flooding on the side roads. We're talking about these main roads. And when we were back in Loveville in St. Mary's County about, I would say maybe 45 minutes ago, we were on Route 5, which is a main road, and we had to find a detour because we couldn't get through, and there were lines of cars on either side really just trapped. So we had to, and luckily we were able to find a detour. So that's just kind of what we're seeing right now. Again, it looks like there are cars on the road. If you do not have to be out, please just try to stay home. But for those who are out, it looks like people are doing things safely, flashers on in front of us. So that's the situation we're looking at right now. I'll send it back to you guys.
All right, Marcella Robertson, thanks so much. Okay, let's check in with Topper Shutt now. And Topper, I guess we have to be thankful that this turned into a tropical storm, and it is a fast-moving storm. You said we're looking at a timeline of just before noon or 1 o'clock that this might clear out of our area.
Yeah, I think the best news is it's a fast mover. It was always going to be a fast mover, but it's moving even faster than we thought last night. So that helps us. So instead of clearing out by 1 or 2, it could clear out as early as noon or 1. So that's good news. Let's go back to the flooding for a minute. And Ed mentioned this on the phoner, but we probably have to go over this. You just never drive through a flooded road. You don't know the condition of the road underneath. You don't know how strong the current is. So 6 inches of moving water can knock an adult off your feet, and just 12 inches will float the average car. But I'll reiterate, 18 to 24 moves a truck. So that moves your, Suburban, moves your Tahoe. So please don't try to, drive across a flooded road. It's just simply not worth it. We do have some storm reports I want to share with you, and obviously most are south and east of town. Down toward Leonardtown, so we'll kind of zoom in down there. And we're looking at the possibility of that tornado around Leonardtown, so we'll kind of query this for you. So this is possible tornado, multiple trees down, several falling onto cars in the same area, and that's at 646 in a place called Callaway or Callaway at about 646. Pardon me, Chris. And then flooding, Route 5 flooded. And then we also have it at Moldoro's. Oh, good. Okay. So this is the flooding around Mechanicsville and the possible tornado there. So storm reports are coming in. Just got an email from Carolyn. Thank you. Fort Washington. She has 5 inches in her rain gauge. 5 inches. And she says if we get over 6, she may not be able to measure it. This is from Annapolis, and it's folks driving through a kind of a flooded parking lot, which I suppose is a bit safer. Still not a great idea, but gives you an idea just how fast and furious the rain came today. I mean, it really came, and we're not quite done with some of the heavier bands just yet. There's still a few more hours to go in terms of the heavy band. That's some pretty good flooding there. You don't want to mess around with that. And, that doesn't look that bad, but you don't have no idea how strong the current is in some situation like that. Don't let your kids go out and play in the flooded areas or around storm drains. It's dangerous.
Topper,
so
that's
maybe enticing, but don't do it.
Hey, Topper, Howard here. That's from Darren Cook in Mechanicsville. I took this at about 7:30 this morning. kind enough to share this with me on Facebook. And Darren said, boy, it was really close to getting up to the road. But I've also had some reports of Eric Johnson, one of our weather explorers in Prince Frederick. He's pushing almost 6 inches of rain now since yesterday from that, 7.5 plus down from Mark Flater down in Leonardtown. And we know we've had some damage there. Mark's gotten some video for us, too, and we're looking at some other things that are going on. So there's a lot of things that are happening this morning with all of these videos that we're watching and everything else that's happening out there. So very active. We appreciate you guys sharing it with us. Hit me up on Facebook or Twitter or hashtag WSA9Weather, or just go to the app and use the Near Me feature. It's a really easy way for us to get that. And we continue to watch the activity this morning as it pulls through the region. Topper, I believe the worst of the tornadic weather is past us now, as we're seeing the center of the storm approach Reedville, coming into the northern neck south of Leonardtown, where there's a little bit of lull right around the middle, where the moisture is really on the north side and the west side of Isaias at this hour. The latest on the position of the storm here we're at 8:38, and Isaias is a tropical storm. Winds at 70, still gusting at 85. So in the 8 o'clock advisory, they did not lower the intensity at all, and they were placing it 15 miles south-southeast of Tappahannock. So yeah, it's over toward the northern neck, coming into the northern neck now. It'll be over toward Easton by 10 o'clock, Trenton, New Jersey by 2, and moving. Look at this. It picked up speed since 5. Now at 33 miles an hour, moving to the north-northeast. And that forward speed is going to get it out of here maybe by 11, 12 o'clock in my estimation. So we will see great improvement to our weather in the next few hours as the storm races up into the Hudson Valley this afternoon and this evening, and then becomes a remnant low in Canada here tomorrow. The winds are starting to pick up. We've got some gusts over 50 showing up from Reedville and Chincoteague. Ocean City 41, gusting 33 in Washington. Near 60 though toward Cape Charles in the southern tip of Delmarva. And this is going to be the strong winds for the next few hours coming across southern Maryland, the lower eastern shore, and Delmarva. For us, our winds may gust toward 40. This is what we have to watch to see exactly where the back edge of the strong wind field exists. And yesterday, it did not look like we were going to get the tropical storm conditions north and west of D.C. So why did they issue them? And I actually called the Weather Service, and they said, look, it wouldn't take much of a shift west to get the strong tropical storm winds, 39 miles an hour sustained or greater, in toward Montgomery and Fairfax. So when we're dealing with a system of this magnitude, to err on the side of caution, Hurricane Center Weather Service decide that they'll issue some tropical storm warnings, maybe a little bit more than they should, but you know, we're being affected big time with the rain and the wind regardless. We knew the worst of the storm was going to be south and east of town, and that certainly is playing out this morning. The tornadoes that we've had, and there was some damage down in St. Mary's County around Leonardtown and Callaway. Seen some video and imagery online, so we know that's happened. This band here coming into Dover, out into the ocean, that is, I believe, the last of the tornadic bands, while we're still dealing with some moderate to heavy rains. And the problem is we had a ton of rain yesterday. The tornado warnings, they're all east of us, Delaware over toward the coast. But we have all these blue boxes now, and that's yet another one for Anne Arundel County and Baltimore. These are flash flood warnings, with some areas down in St. Mary's County, and thankfully the rains are lighter, but I'm concerned that the winds are going to pick up just as the center of Isaias gets over toward or passes, and that could knock down some trees with some very soggy ground. That'll be the case for St. Mary's, Calvert, Charles counties. We're watching that. General flood warnings for Montgomery now, and also for Fairfax counties into the afternoon. There will be some areas of high water, so we'll be watching that. But a few more hours, and the worst of the rain will be gone, and it may take through mid to late afternoon before some of this flooding really subsides. And Annie, I wouldn't be surprised if some of this flooding, you know, the usual suspects like Water Street, let's say, for in Upper Marlboro, persist into late tonight. Annie?
All right, Howard, thanks for that. Let's check in with Michael Quander, who's live in North Beach this morning. And Michael, earlier in your shot, we heard the emergency sirens going off in the background. We saw the rain hitting your face really hard. It looked painful, Michael, but you're doing great out there.
Andy, I hope you can hear me okay. I think my IFB just went out here, but if you can hear me, I am right here in the Chesapeake Beach area. We were in North Beach all morning long. If you all can hear me okay, I am right here right now in the parking garage because we were trying to escape those heavy storms earlier today. I'm going to turn my camera around so you all can see what I see right now. This is a marina right off of the Chesapeake Bay out there. You can see that things have died down since the last time we talked to you all, but you can see people down there securing their boats, and also basically staying out of the way too. We haven't seen too many people ignoring some of those calls to stay home. Earlier today, I could tell you that that was not the case, but as things got more intense out here, we can see that people have been obeying those orders to kind of stay at home and to not get in the middle of this storm. But you can see here there are people down here trying to secure their boats here in this marina right off of the Chesapeake Bay here. One thing I can tell you is that we talked to the mayor of the town, just one town over here earlier today. He was telling us that a lot of the roads were flooded. There was a lot of tidal flooding as well as storm flooding. So he was telling people to not get out into their cars so that way they can kind of avoid the flooding here. I want to try to send it back to you all because I can't really hear right now. So I will send it back to you all for right now, and then if I get things back together, I'll come back out to you all live out here in Chesapeake Bay.
Michael Quander, thanks for that. Howard, I just want to quickly mention before we toss to you, the mayor tweeted earlier that due to this tropical storm that they're going to be shutting down the meal distribution sites for today, August 4th. All COVID-19 testing sites are also closed, which we mentioned earlier in our newscast. And so we just want to get that message out there. Also, continuing to remind all of you, if you have any photos or videos that you can share with us safely from inside your home, please share that with us using the hashtag WUSA9Weather. You can also text it to us at 202-895-5599. Let's head on out to Megan Rivers right now for a look at what's happening in her area. Hey, Megan.
Hey Annie, we're in Great Mills right now, and you can see it happening right behind me. The roadway is closed off due to flooding in the area. So we're right in front of the Great Mills Post Office here in Maryland along Route 5. And the area is blocked off in this way because, as you can see, the river behind these homes has risen. And so all of this water is coming into this area, coming into these yards. I'm joined now by Dawn. And Dawn, you said we're going to keep our distance. You have on your mask, I have on mine. And you said that you just moved to this area back in December. Have you ever seen the water rise this high?
I have not, no.
And in your time here, you know, what has it been like this morning, just from hearing the rain starting from last night into the morning?
There's been a lot of information about tornadoes coming out of nowhere, so that's been exciting. Other than that, I just have been watching the water rise.
Okay, do you have any fears or concerns? Or are you seeing any water coming into your home right now?
Not yet from the floor, but we've heard about the back room leaking from the ceiling, so we're going to check out that in a minute.
Okay, and are you in here by yourself? Are you okay? Do you need anything?
I'm safe right now, but
okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any other major concerns, though, with this river behind you?
Not actively, but we'll find out.
Okay. Dawn, so thank you so much. So this is the flooding in the area that she's talking about due to that river rising behind us. And you can see now the cars are turning around. Some guys were burning rubber, so we want to encourage people to slow down if they do have to come out. But let's take you a little bit further back here so you can see how high this river has gotten in the area. So this is the water that we're talking about that's causing the flooding that we've been showing you the last few minutes. And this is the back porch of Dawn's house. And so this is what made her a little nervous when she came outside once the daylight came up, or sun came up rather, and she was able to see kind of exactly how much water. Now this again is along Route 5, just in front of the post office in Great Mills. And so they had the roadway blocked off too. Now the interesting thing is that a couple of cars or SUVs and trucks have tried to come through this area. We saw a delivery truck earlier that came through this blocked off street, but they've been rerouting people since that time to not go through that area. So we'll continue to be out here and see what happens and what comes of this situation. But again, if you do see those roadways blocked off, do not go around those barriers. You don't know what's in that water. It could be anything in that standing water. And you make sure you do slow down in this area if you do find yourself having to come out and drive. The rain and the wind right now isn't too terribly bad. This is probably the lightest rain that we've seen since about 4 o'clock this morning. But again, if you can stay at home for right now, just do so until this storm passes on. Reporting live in Great Mills, I'm Megan Rivers. I'll send things back to you guys in the studio.
Great stuff, Megan. I mean, just great stuff, and just it shows folks are at least beginning to stop and turn around and don't drown. That is great. So yes, a little bit of a lull there. Let me start with the big picture, the radar past couple of hours, and the storm is about to enter the lower bay. But the bands of heavy rain, this is sort of interesting, are already up past 78. Almost even west of New York City right now, with the heaviest bands lifting to the north of us. And as Howie mentioned, they're moving pretty quickly. So in terms of how long they're going to be out, they're going to be out of here probably in the next 2.5 to 3 hours. The heavy bands may be out of there actually before then. So we'll zoom in. Again, last 2 hours. Heavy rain still occurring, though, in parts of eastern Charles County, much of Prince George's County. Again, we got a report from Carrollton. Fort Washington has 5 inches of rain. Report from Potomac, Maryland, about 1.5 inches already there. And even some heavier bands west of I-81, which is kind of puzzling, but it is just west of I-81. So we'll keep an eye on that. You folks are technically not under the flood watch any longer along I-81. You were taken away from that last night. So we have flash flood warnings, Anne Arundel County, Calvert, Charles, Prince George's till 11:30, and also for Calvert and St. Mary's until 11 o'clock. I'm going to make this a little bit easier and just turn off the radar so you can see where they are. Okay, so we'll kind of zoom out. So these are all the flash flood warnings in the lighter blue. Tornado warning still across the bay. And we're looking at the aerial flood warning for parts of the district and also parts of Montgomery County now, and also Fairfax County. So these are the things that are most serious, and we talked about this really all morning, that flooding